chill out for a second if you want. John the Baptist, what's good, bro?
What's up? What's up with you, hemp?
Thing,
Hi, John.
doing my best.
How y'all doing?
John, question, comment, or smoke?
Got a question. Hopefully, lead to a conversation.
Okay.
So, to most of the ladies on the panels, or since you kind of representing the women tonight, I guess. In 2023, would you consider marriage if you was like early 20s right now? Would you consider marrying a nice guy right now? If you're in your early 20s, if you was like 20 in your early 20s right now?
Yes.
Yep.
That's yes and no.
I said no because I think 20 is too young to get married.
20 is too young to be married.
Agreed.
Okay. So what age should you get married then?
I don't think there's an age. I think it's all in your maturity level. But or at the same time, not necessarily in your 20s, but if you are mature in your 20s,
Hey,
for me, I don't
about?
think I was mature in my 20s. So no, for me, no. I don't think I was mature in my 20s.
Nay,
I know that sounds off, but for me in my 20s, I was not mature. So for me, no.
So have you? So I don't want to get too specific. I don't want to get too specific in general stuff. But do most people mature in personality and value in marriage, or do they just? Or what do you consider mature? Do you just mature in collecting sexual bodies, or what are you maturing in? What are we talking about in general? I'm not saying specific examples, but what exactly you need to mature in?
I think women will. First of all, John the Baptist, I think women will accept a ring. Like if a good man or any man, pretty much any man, I think, they got that on one knee and proposed, they would accept the ring. 20, 21, 23, 24, 26, 28, 29. I think they would. So I disagree with the fact that some would say no.
So for those who said they wouldn't get married in their 20s and you waited till your 30s, let's say mid 30s, you've had all this life experience. At what point, at that point in your life, you went on, had all the experience, got your career, did all the things you want to do. At your 30s, what do you deserve? What do women deserve who decide to put marriage off?
I say, we have to be asked to marry men, so I don't really think it's women putting marriage off per se.
Well, if you didn't want to get, I'm sorry.
I know I waited because I had certain goals and ambitions and things that I wanted to do. So
I say that they don't need to get married young because I don't believe a lot of women, young women in their 20s, in their early 20s, are not ready for the responsibility of being a wife. It goes back to the earlier conversation a couple of weeks ago. Unless your family has arranged marriages and your father and mother have been showing you what it is to be a wife, I don't think that you're prepared to be a wife in your early 20s. I think by the time they get in their late 20s, early 30s, I think they're a little more mature in knowing whether or not that's a responsibility that they want to take.
Okay, so when you get to that point, then I'll do it right here. So I bring it to the point I was trying to get to. So if you go through that point, do you deserve the nice guy, or do you deserve a simp, or what do you deserve? What do you deserve once you get to the point? What do you deserve?
You deserve a husband.
And so that's what you want. Okay, so you want a husband, right? You deserve a husband.
Right.
So my question is, what does the man want now, though?
Hopefully you want a wife if he asked her, right?
Because what men value, I know y'all just had this conversation thousands of times, what men value and what women value are two different things.
You're right.
So for when y'all talk about nice guys tonight, I advise every man never to be nice, period. Always be intentional and be an intentional ruler. Because when you're intentional, you avoid putting yourself in harm's way. And so therefore you want to accept someone else's best. And so therefore what I'm saying is if you're intentional, you will avoid the women who avoided you earlier. But a nice guy will take the girl, will want to date the girl even when she put him away earlier. So she may wait 10, 15 years. The nice guy say, okay, yeah, I'll put myself in harm's way and I'll marry you and accept all the risks that come with you. Maybe you got kids, maybe you got a life, maybe you got a career. You went to college, you got your career, you got the money, and he'll marry you, putting himself at risk now because you've had so much to gain, but your gain actually put him at risk.
What are the
And that's
risks?
what a nice guy would do.
What
do you advise for women over 30? You advise that they just don't what? You think they should, you think they're trash? You think they don't
No,
deserve
I don't
love?
think
What do
you're
you really want
trash.
to say?
I don't think you're trash. No, I'm just saying it's like
the risk. I'm curious, what are the risks?
the more money you gain, the more finances you gain, the more education you gain, the less willing you are to treat your husband as the king. And so it becomes a risk to a man to marry someone who has accomplished more because you're gonna look at yourself as an equal.
Hmm.
And so a nice guy will take that risk because he doesn't see himself as a king anyway.
So, John, when you were trying to kind of create the narrative to make your point, and you were asking those questions, you asked, do we deserve X, Y, and Z? Are you trying to say that at a certain point women don't deserve nice guys because they were interested or unfocused? They were interested in not nice guys, or they were unfocused on the right type of guy earlier in life before they were completely maturated?
If I heard you correctly, if you turn a decent guy away in your 20s, then you probably set yourself afraid. I'm sorry, say it again.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you turned a good guy away in your 20s who was ready to get married and treat you well, if you turned him down then you probably put yourself at risk by your earlier decision. It's not what I think of you; it's what you thought of yourself. So,
right.
in your 20s, you thought of yourself as, well, I'm not ready for this right now. Whatever A, B, and C reason is, I'm not ready for this. So I'm gonna put this off till I do what I want to do.
Mm.
So you're not saying that we don't deserve a nice guy after having made that decision in our 20s?
I'm saying you may not get that. I'm saying you might not get the guy you really want. You make it harder for yourself.
Understood.
But Dana, if you don't practice hard, if you don't work out, if you don't lift weights, right? If you don't prepare yourself for the game, you don't deserve to win. If you're not putting in the pain and the effort, you don't deserve certain outcomes. Nobody deserves. You have to earn your outcomes.
I hear what you're saying, Hamp, but I think that goes back to what you were just saying a few minutes ago when before Kev was on, the last guest that was on. People mature, people grow, people make errors, people make mistakes, and you shouldn't be always held to the decisions that you made in your past. I shouldn't be held. I won't say I shouldn't be held accountable. I'm not the person yesterday who I am today, and so the decisions that I make today and the way that I move today is going to be different than who I was then. But because I made mistakes, because I made certain decisions at a certain point in life, because I didn't have the maturity or the knowledge that I have now, that doesn't mean I'm unworthy of a nice guy or the desires of my heart.
That's fair. John, before you jump back in, let me just read these super chats real quick. Beans Little Podcast was good. $5 super chat. I hope for honesty from the women. Ellipsis. How do you say disappointed in Swahili? Perfect Wisdom with the $5 super chat. Yes, get married in your 20s. You might miss out. Will with the $5 super chat. As a man who's married, you're never really ready for marriage. It's something you learn while on the job. No cupcake zone with the $2 super chat. 20 city girls, 30 Sukihana, 40s Amber Rose. Damn. Perfect wisdom with the 20 ball, man. Thank you. We appreciate you. You've been rocking all night for the second night in a row, or excuse me, second week in a row. 100%, man. What Will said, 100%. Indeed.
Shit like that.
Go ahead,
Shit
John.
like that. Shit like that. Shit like
So
that.
what I want to say to that, I think your name was Dana, right? I don't want to call you the wrong name.
Yeah.
What I will say to that is every person has a choice to make, right? And no one can control your choice. It's your choice to make. But what you can control are the consequences of your choices. And so if you say, well, I shouldn't be held accountable for what I did at 18, 19 to 20, well, that's not how life works. Life works where you make a choice, and whatever choice it is, whether you thought about it or didn't think about it, you made the choice. And once you make it, you live it out, life happens, and the consequences happen with it. You can't change the consequences, and you can't make someone overlook your consequences of your choices. So therefore you may feel that way, but I didn't go to school. When I was in high school, I chose not to focus on school, right? So when it was time to go to college, I wasn't a good option. I can't now go back and say, well, now that I'm 49 years old, I can't say, well, all my life lessons made me a perfect student now. But no, because first, I'm older. There's some kids who are smarter, stronger, got more energy to study. They can live life better than I can. So because of the choice I made, I had to live with the consequences.
I understand what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. But along those lines, in the example that you just offered, you had all of the information when you made a decision, when you made the choice, right? And so dealing with the consequences of having all of the information and knowing what the outcome or what the consequences are is completely different than making a decision without having all the information, because you're younger, you're not as mature, you're not as experienced, you just don't have the same wisdom. So I'm not saying that there aren't consequences to decisions that you make. Like, everybody has a basic understanding of what's right and wrong, what's good and bad, right? But evolving and growing and maturing, learning, experiencing things, that's all a part of life. And you don't get to, or you shouldn't have to be penalized for the rest of your life for not having the same knowledge in your 30s or in your 40s. I'm saying that wrong, but you shouldn't be penalized for not having.
I get the point you're making. Right. I'm just saying it's not realistic though. Because
how long should you be punished though?
Well, that's the thing about it. We don't, like I said, you don't get to determine your consequences. So for example, if someone early in life decides I'm going to have premarital sex, and they get HIV, and now that they're 40, well, I learned from my mistakes. I shouldn't have to deal with HIV anymore.
But I think you're making my point. Like, the risk when you have unprotected sex.
Actually, they didn't. When they were younger, when you're younger, no, there are individuals who, in life, you don't get all the information that you need when you need it. Like, for example, there are some kids let's go back to the education thing, right? There are some kids when they're in high school, and before they got to high school, even in middle school, their parents was prepping them for college, SAT prep, whatever class they need to thrive in college. Some kids don't get that information.
Okay.
And so to that point, it's like, well, it's not the parents' fault that's taught their kids what they needed, that their kids are now successful. But it's not my fault that my parents. But it's not my fault. Excuse me, I said that wrong. But I also got to deal with the fact that my parents did not prepare me for what the other kids were prepared for. But now that I'm older, now that I'm 19, whatever the case is when you graduate high school, now that I'm at this situation, whether I was prepared for it or not, I now have to learn the life skills on my own. That puts me behind the Powerball, behind the curve. So now I'm always working behind the curve to catch up. So just because you started off wrong, because maybe be your parents' fault, your fault, whatever case it is, once you start off wrong, you're always behind the power. You're always behind the curve, and you're always trying to play catch up.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying and I understand,
gosh.
but you're talking about consequences versus what somebody deserves, and I think that's where the difference is.
Well, your choices tell you what you deserve.
Do you
Yeah.
deserve AIDS? Does anybody deserve AIDS? Like that's not.
If
That's
your
a consequence
choice,
of having
if your
unprotected
choice,
sex.
if your choice was to have unprotected sex, then and you get the benefit of having unprotected sex,
Mhm.
you also get the consequence of having unprotected sex. So you deserve what
But
you
does
deserve to act. You deserve to actually participate in.
But you just said that along those lines, or in that example that you gave, that's with not having all of the information. You made that decision without having all of the information.
Correct.
So you have to deal with the consequences, lifelong consequences.
Correct. You do.
But does that mean? But does that mean that person deserves AIDS?
If
I think that's the
you
difference.
you deserve whatever you deserve whatever choice you made.
Okay.
Yeah. You deserve your outcomes. Sis, you had something?
I was just trying to understand this logic. I guess he's saying, like I said when he first got up here, he just wants the 30 and ups to know that they don't deserve shit. He could have said that a long time ago, if you ask me. I know you want to do it long-winded. You want to ask a question, we give the answer. I know you want to do it your way. I get it, John. But just say it. Women over 30 don't deserve shit. On the flip
No,
side,
that's
do
not what
men
I
that
said.
have multiple baby mothers and the men that have created single parent homes, do they not deserve love? Do they not deserve to be married later in life? Like, what's your take on that?
I didn't hear the first part of your question.
Men that create all these single parent homes, have all these baby mothers, Future, for example, like, what do they deserve? Do they deserve to be married later on?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what sex you are. You deserve whatever choice. Your choices and consequences. You control your choice, but you don't control the consequences. So it doesn't matter if you're male or female. It's your choices and your consequences. They go hand in
Just
hand.
saying in a nutshell, you just deserve what you get. Okay, I
You
got
deserve.
you.
Yeah. Yes. It's not about sex. It's about your choices.
Yeah. But sis, you know the unfortunate circumstances. We don't get the same judgment as you guys for some of those early choices. So that has to be taken in consideration until if you want to use a stronger word, I may not agree, but until the hypocrisy changes, right? In our society, you guys are judged differently and your outcomes are different based on your early decisions. So that has to be considered for you guys differently than us.
I know. I guess that's why I bring it up. It's unfortunate because a lot of people are very quick to talk to the women, and especially the black women and all of that, and tell us we're talking sign language when we're really just
Well, I
responding
think the
because
reason
we're on here.
why I addressed it was because it's like most men, we always held accountable for our choices. We don't get a.
By who? You say you
Oh,
are or not?
we are
By who?
child support. I mean, if a man breaks a law, he serves more time in jail than women if they break the
A lot
same
of men
law.
aren't even on child support, and then when you are on child support, a lot of men aren't even paying what it
But
really takes to take care of the
okay,
child.
but
So
the
there's
thing is,
different variables within what you're saying. It's not just y'all
okay,
get
but
consequences. That's not real life.
okay, the statement you was making though, and I'm addressing the issue that you make that men are held accountable for their choices. Now, men, and so it's expected for a man to be held accountable for his choices. But what's new is what's kind of new is that we're now holding women more accountable than we ever have in the past.
I'm sorry, I don't know what men are being held accountable for creating all these
Who's on?
broken homes and giving out STD and being on a DL and shooting each other and killing them. I don't know when. I don't know.
So you don't think
I don't know when and where.
Do you see? Okay, look at the prison population. That's men being held accountable.
I think it's more to it than that, but okay.
I mean, I don't care what metric you measure. If you compare it to men to women, Men are held more accountable than women at any point in history. I don't care where you look at it at. You tell me a situation where women are penalized more than men.
On a daily basis. We just spoke about the
if we don't take care of our kids, we are the horror. If we don't take care of our kids, if we decide that we need to go work and we don't have a child care provider, they giving us all types of hell. If our children don't graduate from high school, and the majority rate are Black children they're not graduating, they're looking at the mother. They're not looking at the father specifically. If our children are not graduating, they're looking at the mother. If they don't eat and they go to school malnutrition, they're looking at the mother.
Bro,
Can I jump in? So I'm pretty sure, I'm not trying to tell you ladies age, it's not my job to do that, but I'm thinking we all close to the same age. We may be close to the same age, which means I think we've seen the same timeline growing up. Because I remember most of my life, especially in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and 2000s, that men were the scum of the earth. They was dogs. They were deadbeat dads for like 50 years. And they was the scum of the earth, and therefore every man was like, you're like, you just left your wife and your kids, and you was just scum of the earth trash. I've been there for 50 years.
That's because I don't know. I don't know. My grandfather worked, so I don't know. I do know that.
I'm addressing this what you said though. You just said that we talk about women more. I'm saying for the majority of the time, it's been more. We talk about men the most.
In the 70s and the 80s,
80s, 90s, and 2000s,
they decided to go to work. Okay, and when our mothers decided to go to work, they started criticizing them. When they started to get harassed for going into the military told them, I know this for a fact, because my own mother went into the military, they couldn't have benefits if they were a single parent. So they have been criticized.
What do you mean they couldn't have benefits as a military as a single parent?
They could not get benefits if they were single parents.
What kind of benefits?
Health benefits for their children. When they joined the military,
that's not true. Yes, I was in the military.
It is true. It started in the 70s and the 80s when the women were single parents. They were not able to get health benefits. That did not start until the 90s. So again,
okay, so the only way you couldn't get benefits for your kids in the military is that if you didn't have custody of your kids, for example. Sir, but even then,
like I said, it started in the 70s and 80s. Single women could not be in the military and get benefits for their families. There was no law.
What is the argument though? Because we rabbit hole in it. Like we start talking about anecdotal stuff that is just boring. Like,
I'm sorry.
So what are we asking though? Like, what are you saying? So we're saying that men are held less accountable than women in society.
No, I'm not saying that at all. Okay. What I'm saying is
that was the point that you made earlier though.
No, that's not the point.
Go ahead.
You said we were never held accountable. You said we were
I didn't say never.
I didn't say never.
Okay. If I did say never, say never, that I misspoke. Because what I was getting to was that men have been more penalized than women at every point in history. So I didn't mean to say never if I did, but the point I was making was that men have been penalized the most between the two sexes.
But can I get a point real quick?
You sure can.
Who cares? I mean, and take this. I'm taking this respectfully. I'm saying this respectfully. Who cares if you're penalized more? Like, it's not the victim Olympics. It's not the victim Olympics. And I want to make sure we're very clear in that. Okay, women were penalized because Will made a very valid point. If the kids don't graduate, the mother, you had a bad mother. If the kids, she doesn't have childcare. Like, okay, people suffer consequences and get penalized for their decisions or for acts they think that they're doing in the right for good intentions, but they still get penalized. Okay, why are we going down this path? John the Baptist, why are you going that path about men are being held more accountable than women through the years?
No, I actually, to go back up, love, I didn't go down that path. Yes. That question was asked to me, and I just answered the question.
How men were penalized the most, like who?
No, be fair to the conversation, because I didn't ask that. I didn't bring that statement up. That question was asked to me. I just addressed the question.
Right. And so
what I stated was, what do you deserve?
Okay. So all I'm saying is, even if it was brought up, you don't have to follow that train of logic or that train of thought. That's all. Like
Well, then
I want to get us out of this. And I felt Victim Olympics was coming on, but
well, don't address me. Don't address me. Address the person that asked the question. That would be the ladies to your left and to your right and up beneath you. Because I didn't ask the question. I just answered. I was trying to be genuine and answer the question.
Yeah, I honestly, from what I remember, and it is super late, so maybe I'm wrong, but I thought the point was, men don't get looked at as poorly when they make certain sexual decisions. Like, they can have a bunch of different baby moms or whatever and not looked at as poorly.
And that was Hemp's response.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then I thought, to further that point, men have been held accountable a lot more than women. Did you not say that? And if you didn't, I thought you did say that.
I said a response to a question that was asked to me.
Right, but was your response that men have been held more accountable than women?
Because the question that I think her name, I think it's
you answered my question. The answer was yes, you did say that.
Yeah, he did based on the statement that Sis had made. She asked me a leading question, and I answered the leading question.
Yeah. And then
I didn't try to dodge. I didn't dodge the leading question. I answered the leading question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you guys agree that men in society are held more accountable, or no? You don't think so? Just so I understand.
I think you are held more accountable because you guys are the leaders. You guys have been holding more leadership roles. You guys are technically the lead. So yes, the lead is always going to be held more accountable. But to say that women are not held accountable, or we're not looked at, or you're just now holding us accountable, that's not true.
Well, the one point you made that threw me off, Rose, with the kids. Our kids do terribly being raised by a single mother, and yet they still get awarded to you guys.
When I agree
They're forced
with you.
to be raised by single mothers. How can you be in more than one home at one time?
What I'm saying is the kids are awarded to the moms, and they're doing very poorly in school, and yet they're still being awarded to their moms.
So
I'm addressing the point of accountability that Ro made.
Correct. You are correct. You are correct. And so for that reason is why we're always held accountable when it comes to the rearing of the children. We're always held accountable. If they don't graduate, if they get shot in the hood and they're in the streets, they're not saying, "Where's the father?" They're saying, "Where's the mother?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for the past, no, that's and this is where we spoke up. This is why I started speaking up last time, because where the confusion came in, because the statement that was just made. For the past 40 to 50 years, the question was, where is the father? Where are the black men in the community? It's only been the last 4 years that they've said now it's all the mother.
That is not true.
I think most of us lived through the 70s, 80s, and 90s and 2000s, where we kept asking, where we kept Oprah, all the talk TV shows kept saying these men are pretty much a trash. Erykah Badu actually did an interview talking about this. I did an interview talking about a song, how her and her mom and her aunts would sit around a table talking about how trash men were.
I thought you were talking about, like Cam said, I thought you were talking about a bigger societal point of view.
Correct. Even if you look at the C, I give you a small sample size. I give you what the CDC says. Even back in that time period, the prevailing thought was that men were trash.
You have to give me that statistic. I don't agree with that. I think when women started working, we were criticized for going to work. Okay. We were criticized for wanting a career. We were.
Two things can be true at the same time. You can be criticized for wanting to have a career, but it still doesn't mean that you were the most blamed for the failure of the kids. Because in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the men were considered dogs and trash, and they were a bunch of baby mamas everywhere. They was they had too many kids. That's what people were saying. And black men started listening and started getting their act together.
After the Million Man March, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you want to use the Million Man March as a side joke.
What part of the CDC is doing research on that?
Good
question. I'm sorry,
good question.
The CDC actually did an interview. I did a report. Actually, I think when I said the CD, I was speaking of when they said that I forgot the specific numbers, but the number said that the mothers and the 2-parent homes are the best, single father homes are the second, and then single mother homes are the least optional, the least successful. And they also brought out the data and numbers to show the prisons, teenage pregnancy, and all the negative stats that show in the past recent years of the difference of if each class of what 2-parent homes, single father homes, and single mother homes. That's what I was referring to when I said CDC, but I don't have the numbers in front of me to quote the exact numbers.
Right, because that got muddled. Honestly, that got a little muddled.
So let me clarify real quick. I played a clip before. Did you guys remember that clip where they were saying that the results from children that come from dual parent homes and father-led homes, their results are the same, like in school and outcome. Yeah, their results and draw. You remember the white lady I played? Yeah. Right. So that's what he's referring to.
But I don't remember the clip that you played. I just remember reading the.
Yeah, it was a clip. They that's why I just refer because now she'll probably under what you were saying right there.
Right. I think what got muddled was him saying the CDC said that black men, because CDC. I'm sorry. The CDC doesn't go into subjective. Oh, I'm sorry. Doesn't go into those subjective type of stats and those types of studies what he said. And that's why I got muddled at the end. That's why I wanted to make clear. But he was citing 4 or 5 different studies about single parent homes, black led homes, black women led homes, and all that.
It was dual parent. It got muddled. Let me be clear. It was dual parent homes. It was dual parent homes, then father led homes, and then mother led homes.
Yeah, those are the categories.
I get it now, Ham. You did provide the clarity.
All right. Man, the lady's been cooking for a minute now. So yeah.